So Clinton has started his outdoor studio, and I will insert some pictures here, and just to show you he's got a start on it. But he had some questions about the bracing and how the walls, the corners nail together, which, believe it or not, I have this video on that's, I don't know, I'd have to go look to see how many views. It's over 100,000 views. It's just a shed, and all I'm talking about is how the corners work. And for some reason, people are kind of fascinated, or that seems to be a gray area for people. But anyway, I've got this, let's see, I've got this perspective set up. And I've got it set on a style where you can, that may be a little easier, or let's see. I got these different styles set up, and that one is for printing drawings in black and white. Let's see what this one looks like. This would probably be the best one to make a video. His question was about the corners, how the two walls go together, and also about bracing. Let me turn off the roof framing, and that'll help us see here how this is going to work. This is what I want to show, because your sequence here is going to be, well, what we've decided on is this wall will be built first, this easy wall back here that just has a corner. And see, that's part of what we're going to talk about, the way this corner is built with just two studs separated by some blocks, and I'll show you why that is in a second. But the difference in this is that it has a sloped roof, obviously, and the walls, the top plates can't really tie together like you would typically see a corner. On a typical corner where all your walls were the same height, this top plate would have been held back 3.5. Turn my keyboard light here. It would have been held back 3.5 inches, so that the wall coming this way, its top plate could overlap that and be nailed through, and that would tie them together. But in this case, you've got a sloped roof. You can see that there's no real, I mean, there's an opportunity to do it, but it just doesn't work out well. This is the best way I have found to frame these, and I'll show you why. Where you just stand the front wall up and then the back wall up, and you brace them off, and then you build your rafters. You put your rafters in. One of the things that's going to help hold this together, obviously, are these hurricane ties, these rafter clips right there. And so let me just get started. I'm kind of going in circles here. I'm going to turn off this roof framing. I'm going to borrow one of these 2x4s, and oops, I'm going to make this a unique component. Actually, it's going to be down here. It's going to have to be down here a good ways, because, well, that's right, I told him to get 12 footers. I did, didn't I? Let's see. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this longer. On the material list, I had some 12 footers for these long top plates. So I also had him get some extra ones for bracing. So I'm gonna guess, is that gonna reach? Yeah. In this case, I think what we want to do is just move this brace inside this wall. Yeah, because what I'd like to do in this particular case, where my and that should reach, This is where CAD programs come in. They're kind of frustrating because I need that to go over a little bit, and in real life, I would just do it. I wouldn't have to do all this wanky, stuff like this. But what you're going to do is nail it so it's on the outside of this piece right here. This is all going to make sense, I promise. What I want to do is put a brace from here down to there, and then you'll have the vice versa. Would you say that? Let's do it over here. That's what I have to worry about. Opposite of that, over here. Like that. I could have done that one that way too, I guess. So that's basically what you're going to do on each end, okay? Now, in real life, these are going to bend around each other, okay? But you can nail these, nail it here, nail it there, nail it there, nail it there, and nail it in the middle. And you see, you don't want any of that sticking out. See how I got that sticking out a little bit? You don't want that. You want that to be like that, okay? Because you want these braces to stay on there until you're done putting your sheeting on the outside walls. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be smart and make myself a group. Run it right down here. And do I have to mirror it? Yeah, because it'll be wanky if I don't mirror it. Alright, cool. Now these braces, if I'm going to measure them, we may have to get some longer 2x4s. Let's see how long it is from there to there. No, it'll work. 12 foot will work. Yeehaw. That says 11, 10, 7/16. That's just because I grabbed one of these 8-foot studs and just made it 4 feet longer. But 12 footer actually worked great. And then you'll have one in the middle. Want that one in the middle. Yeah, like that. Well, duty. You see, this is going to be a lot easier in real life, I promise you. Okay, so there you go. As long as you get one somewhere in the middle, you'll be fine. And so what you're going to do is, this wall will be laying on the floor. You'll build it, stand it up, okay? Then you'll temporarily just brace it off. You remember how I had it at first? The one that I had first on the outside of the wall and on the outside of here, that was a temporary brace just to hold the wall up. These braces will be left on here until all the siding, all the windows, well, not the windows, all the roofing, the decking, the roofing, the sheeting, everything on here. And then you'll even take, let's see, is there a way to brace this off without going into the window opening? I've actually seen people nail blocks onto the header, and then the brace will be nailed into the side of the header. Let's say you had a big long opening here, right? This was all one big opening, and there was nowhere to brace it in the middle. Then you can nail a block to the header and then nail the brace to that block. But the point of the middle braces is not only to strengthen the wall while you're putting your rafters on, but you got to get it straight, right? Because you'll have your uncle, Clinton will have his uncle looking down the wall like this, and he'll say pull it in or push it out, because you want the dimensions to match. Okay, and that's my next point. Um, if you've ever seen a 4-foot level or a 6-foot level or whatever, you see there's a bubble in the level, right? Well, most people will get that bubble somewhere in the middle and say, "Oh, that's good." Okay, and that's okay. But in this case, you don't have a wall. In most cases, we would have the wall height would all be the same, and your walls would be connected here before you plumb the wall. But in this case, the brace, you're gonna when you brace this off, it's gonna be, that's when you're gonna put your level on it and plumb it. Well, this is plumb, vertical is plumb, horizontal is level. Okay, we call it a level, but this vertical direction is plumb. So the point here is that you want to get these braces on here. You want to measure. You want to get it plumb, but you want this to be dimensionally correct. Okay. And if you measure between these bottom plates, it says 9 feet 4, which is correct. Okay. Now it's easy for me to get this correct because it's a CAD program, but you want to measure between these two and get it. Make sure it's 9 feet 4. I'm not horizontal, so it's not, if I take a construction line and I bring it over here, that's 9 feet 4, you see. So you want to get these level plumb, but they need to be the same distance apart at the top. Okay. Now one way you can do that is you can either check it right before you put a rafter up, or you can put a horizontal brace up, across here, just somewhere near the top of the wall. These braces should be good as long as let's say you have a 4-foot level or a 6-foot level would be good. You get this tallest wall plumb based on the level. Okay. Then you go back and measure between them. If it's 9 foot 4 and a half, you know you got a problem. Okay, that because the tolerance on a bubble is probably a 1/4 inch easy on 8 feet. I think that's what it is. So you don't want this wall being a 1/4 inch out that way, and this wall being a 1/4 inch out that way, and you thought it was plumb the whole time. Okay, you don't want these walls splayed out at the top. So before you put your rafters on, you want to make sure that this is dimensionally correct up here, even though it may show it plumb. Okay, on both sides. You may say, well, what the heck is up with that? I'm just telling you, a 4-foot level is not that accurate. Okay, it's accurate enough for us contractors to get by, because the code requires us to be within a 1/4 inch tolerance on the vertical plumb. Plumb of a wall can't be more than a 1/4 inch out on 8 feet. I don't think I've actually seen a building inspector do that, but I think it's one of those things where if they saw something like this, they would probably check it, or if it looked at a plumb, they would check it. But anyway, so you got your first 2 walls up. Then you got your bracing up good. Your walls are straight, they're plumb, they're dimensionally correct apart from each other. And now you're just going to start putting your rafters up. Okay, so now you're going to put this first, what we call the house line rafter, is this first rafter, and then you'll go. One thing I forgot to do is put this line. Am I on the joist? This looks weird because I added a 2x2 on the bottom of the rafter, but it doesn't show up. And see, I have these as components, so they all changed. See, but what that is doing is that won't be there when you first put your rafters up. That's a 2x2 he's going to add to be able to get R30 insulation between the rafters. And what we normally do on a situation like this is use the rafter from the rafter tables that says it will meet the span, and then if we have extra insulation requirements, it's cheaper, believe it or not, it's cheaper to add a 2x2, or because that could even be scrap lumber at that point. But anyway, that's kind of a side note. So then you would go down, putting your rafters on. You might want to put each house line rafter on first, just to double check to make sure this is 9 feet 4 apart at the top. Obviously, it's going to be easy to get them 9 feet 4 apart at the bottom, but the top is going to be where it could get a little wanky. So there you go, and fill in all your rafters. You'll put your fascia, your sub fascia. This is your sub fascia up here, because your true fascia would be nailed on the outside of that after. And the reason it's dropped down is because we've got it dropped down to cover the ends of the soffit. Plus we've got a roof trim. Now we're starting to get into more detail, aren't we? We got our roof decking on here, okay? And then after you get your roof decking on here, if you're up there and you want to work on this, you can put your fascia boards on, and they don't need to drop down that far. Where's our soffit? They just need to drop down. Where's no soffit? Here we go. It just needs to drop down far enough to cover, to give you a little reveal. So you got a drip here, and they're probably down a little bit too far. They could go up a little bit, but the point there is that you got your roofing, and you got these drip edges, this rake trim, that's what we call it, or eave, or gable eave, or gable trim or rake trim. It's just a 3x3 or a 4x4 angle that goes to cover up the edge, so you don't see the edge of your roofing. Now that you got your rafters up and your decking on and your synthetic roof felt, I think I got liner lock. Liner lock is a synthetic roofing felt, and then your roofing, metal roofing. Now your walls really can't move. I would suggest to go at least as far as putting the decking on, the OSB, the 7/16 OSB on the roof, and then put your liner lock on there to dry it in, and then because now your subfloor is pretty much dried in. But then you can come back and frame up your end wall. I'm gonna actually leave that one off for a minute. I think it looks easier to show this. Where's the door wall? Here we go. I'm gonna turn the roof off just for a second or a minute or so, but it's already there while we're talking about this. The other question was, how does the sidewall tie into the corner? Okay, and this is where you get into your systems, your building systems. Okay, now you see, because this end wall is on a slope, it doesn't work out perfectly so that you can overlap the top plates. Okay, on a wall that was the same height, this plate would extend over, over this, and you'd nail down into it, but that's not the case. It's easier, and I've talked to Clinton about this extensively, it's easier to wait till you get your rafter up, and then put this plate up against it. Because if you try to build this end wall, 99% of the time you'll get a hump in that wall where you're just driving these studs. If you drive them this way, it'll cause a hump in the plate, and that happens all the time. And so if you go ahead and do your front and back wall, and then put your rafters up, which allows you to get your decking up, which allows you to get your building dried in relatively well, then you can come back and do all this other stuff. The thing is, the way this is going to be sequenced is that all this stuff, let's see, I have this, I'm going to delete this, but then I'll just undo it, obviously. Now if I was smart, I would have figured out what sequence to do this in, but I'm going to stop when I get. What you'll do first is you'll nail this 2x4, this top plate, up against your rafters, okay? And then you'll put your bottom plate down, and then you will come and put each end stud on, okay? Now these studs are nailed into your corners that you put up on your other wall. So I'm going to delete it right quick, but then I'm going to kind of do the old blink test. Control Y, Control Z, Control Y, Control Z. So what you're nailing into is, on this, in this particular case, because we had, well, I guess I don't have the blocks in there, do I? That's bizarre. Do I have an 1.5 inches between them? Yeah, for some reason, yeah. For some reason, I don't show the blocks. I'll show you. The way you make a corner is you take scrap blocks and you space it out so that it's 4.5 inches. And the reason you do that is because on the inside of the wall, that 2x4 hanging over on the inside gives you a nailer both ways for your drywall, okay? But you can screw or nail this 2x4 into that one, okay? And let's see if I can undo this in an order now that gets my wall back. So then you got your stud on each end, and then you just start framing. This is not literally the way you would do it, but then you just start framing your wall kind of the way you do it. Up in that order, that sequence. That's kind of the sequence. And then, but you see all that time, these braces are out of the way, and you can leave them up. You actually want to leave these braces up until after you get all the sheeting on your house, on your outdoor studio, your backyard studio. So now it would be the same thing on this end. It's just framed a little bit differently. Where's my wall? Right in, there we go. Okay, this has the same window, but it has the air conditioning opening in it, and all this is on the drawings. It's all dimensioned. And I didn't get that over there, did I? So that 2x4 there would be nailed up against that window opening, or you could nail a block on the header and nail it on the side of that if you wanted to. Which would keep, if you did that, that would keep your, you could hang your windows and all that, but you're going to be good if you get, where's my wall sheeting? If you just go and get all your wall sheeting on, and by that point, and that would be your next thing to do, by that point you've already got your roof framing on and your decking, right? So now your building envelope is done as far as the framing and sheeting. So at that point you can take off the braces that might be in the way. I would probably leave on these back braces and just take off the braces that were maybe in the way of installing the windows. But again, I'd still leave as many braces on as I could until I got to the point to where I was actually going to be working inside. One thing I meant to mention, and I actually had to come back and record this while I was editing, but one of the points that Clinton was trying to make to me, or one of his questions actually, was about these corners tying together. And the point I made earlier in the video about the system, the framing systems, is that everything works together. So after you've nailed these corners, this wall to that corner, that end stud there, which we put on first, then it was nailed into the corner. That's just one that's just one part of the system. Nailing the wall to to the other wall is just one part of it. The other system is your sheeting overlaps. You see, your sheathing or sheeting, people say both. You see, this wall here is framed up, obviously, and now we're going to apply our sheathing. See, this wall, this piece overlaps, and you're nailing into the end of that wall and into this wall. See, so that sheeting that ties your walls together probably is a better example to go back here and see where you have a continuous row of nails on this sheeting all the way down on both sides, and that makes it super strong. And that's why it's just not any one component in a stick frame, building, a stick built project like this is why they are so strong and why they can actually withstand seismic events even better than masonry, loosely laid masonry buildings, because of the way all of the components work together to make it strong. So from here, you would put your Tyvek on, right? And you would, I'm going to send you a link to show you how to do the Tyvek around the windows and doors. And then your windows and doors, then you need to put your soffit on at some point in this process before you put the siding up, because it needs to be up so that your siding can butt into it. Okay, so now you've got your fascia, and by that time you would have your fascia on, or you can do those at the same time. But if you're going to put your fascia on, I suggest going ahead and making sure, like I said earlier, that your roofing was on, okay? Because you really don't want water getting down between your fascia boards. And now you're just left with siding. Where's our siding go? Where did our siding go? Wall, siding. There we go. And might as well just turn off we might as well just go back to our view where I've got like a perspective, where everything's kind of turned on. And when you've gotten this far, you get ready to put your drywall on, then your braces obviously are down before you put your drywall in. So I hope that helped. And I hope the video wasn't too long, because now I have to go edit it. And but it's been a cool project, and Clinton is really a nice guy. He's been really super cool to work with, and he's going to send me some pictures as he goes along. So maybe I'll do an update on his build. The first two pictures were just he had a question for me about how to install those angle clips. These right here. I think I actually show more room here than what he's got. To me, there was actually a way to get these on there, but in his case he wasn't. So what we did was, let's see if we can go back to the floor framing. There's a ledge here. See that ledge there? I'm looking at it upside down now. And this is the printed drawing view. That's why it's all black and white looking. Let's put it in this view. Yeah. So there's a ledge here on top of your post, because the posts are 5.5 inches and your band, your double joist is only 3. You can set that clip up here on top of that ledge and screw it into the top of the post and into that joist or the band or whatever. So yeah, it's been a cool project and it's been fun. It's amazing how much actually goes into, how much detail goes into one of these little projects. I mean, you have just about everything you have on a house, just not as much of it obviously, but it is kind of fun to see how these kind of things shape up That's the most fun I have about design build. And my company, Artisan Construction, is a design build company. It's a lot more fun when we get to design projects and build them at the same time. Anyway, enough rambling for today. Thanks, guys.